Welcome friends. In this presentation, we will be looking into content analysis and how the content analysis helps us in performing qualitative research. So, this discussion actually starts with a small overview on qualitative research, and then we'll go into details into content analysis. So, to start with, let us have some information about qualitative research. A qualitative research is an attempt to understand the problem or the phenomenon, taking deep insight and understanding the things without the help of numerical data. Thus we require a rich description of the information, and that will give us some valuable information with the help of which we can understand the problem better. This is very much useful in situations when we are to deal with some complex societal problems or in some complex business problems where collection of numerical data is not a way in which the problem can be understood or the problem can be solved. Some complex social environment we can attend through this data or deal with issues related to people's belief, behavior, judgment, or attitude. Qualitative research is particularly useful for such type of issues. Now, if we have a distinction between qualitative and quantitative research, some of the points on which the distinction can be explained are the focus of the research, the philosophical roots of the research, the goal of the investigation, the design of the research, and the process of data collection. So in qualitative research, the focus is on quality or meaning of experience, and quantitative research, its quality, its frequency, it's about magnitude. So the focus is on understanding the thing in qualitative research more in terms of the experience that people has encountered when they dealt with the situation. Philosophical roots of qualitative research is constructivism, and that of quantitative research is positivism. In constructivism, when there is nothing clear about the situation or the problem at hand, qualitative research comes handy, as with the help of this we can build and we can reach to a constructive phenomenon, or we construct the different stages or understand the problem in a much better way. Quantitative research is always applied when there is quite clear concept of about the objectives and the problem is clear. And so with a positive attitude, we start this quantitative data, and the data are collected with the expectation that given the data set available with us, given the data is collected, we will be able to reach the solution to the problem. So that is the concept of positivism. Okay, goals of investigation. Now in qualitative research, we basically want to get the description of the entire thing and understand it. We try to discover the meaning of the different terms and terminologies associated or the reasons associated with the problem, and then we might be reaching a stage when we will be able to generate the hypothesis of the research, which may be tested later on. Now quantitative research is to test hypothesis. It is to predict what is going to happen in future. It is how to control the environment and how to confirm, that is to reach some results related to the problem under study. The design is flexible, evolving, and emerging. So this is the design, and this is structured. In quantitative research, the design is structured and is predetermined. However, in qualitative research, it is flexible based on the experiences that you face when you start this research. Your strategy might change. So that's why this is an emerging strategy we use in emerging design we use in qualitative research. The data collection method in qualitative research is basically the primary data which the researcher collects interviewing the different subjects. And in case of quantitative research, the external instruments such as different tools or survey tools are applied. Different technique of sampling is decided, to whom to contact and how to contact, and then what type of information to be collected. Those things are actually collected based on some methods of collecting primary data, or some methods of collecting or some sources of secondary data are utilized in case of quantitative research. However, in qualitative research, the researcher collects the data with the primary instrument being interviews or meeting the individuals, having informal discussions, etc. Now, when we go to qualitative research, first step of this research is the exploratory stage. We want to explore a phenomenon initially, depending on hunches, interest, and attention. So there might be some hunches also, depending on our interest and the attention that we have from the respondents. Based on that, the exploration is done. Then the descriptive part of the research comes in, which is the heart of qualitative research. The central characteristics of description are specificity and precision in conveying the experience. So it's a nice way of getting the experience conveyed from the respondent to the person conducting the survey. Interpretation, the last stage of a qualitative research is interpretation. In this stage, obviously the interpretation of the events and the phenomena are discussed. The goal is to make sense of what goes on in a phenomenon. So that is the interpretation part. With exploration, description, and interpretation, the qualitative research arrives at a complete understanding of the phenomenon in a particular setting. So this is very important, that in a particular setting, the exploration, description, and interpretation actually helps the researcher to reach the complete understanding of the phenomenon of the particular problem. So this is about the nature of qualitative research. Now, different ways of qualitative research, different ways of qualitative research contains like case study method, where one single problem is taken up and it is explained in depth. It is studied in depth, both implicitly as well as explicitly, and this is a flexible method and can be the basis of any research design. It is particularly useful in applied type of research, where a particular case is studied. This case may be explained totally specific to the case only, or as we study, we go forward, we can bring this case as a useful generalization if the particular case is just an average case. Grounded theory describes a general abstract theory of a progress, action, and interaction grounded in the views of the participant. Grounded theory got its start in sociological research, where we actually try to compare between the existing theories based on the available information that we have, or we try to challenge a particular theory or try to verify the particular theory in a given situation. Then those studies are called as grounded theory. They are generally explained with the help of descriptive research. Ethnographic research, it studies a specific cultural group in natural setting for a prolonged period of time, which is quite common in anthropological studies. That means a particular group of people living in a particular society are studied in order to get in-depth knowledge about their culture, their aspirations, their lifestyle, their food habits, etc. And for that purpose, the study should be for a prolonged period. Then phenomenology is another way of qualitative research. It identifies the essence of human experience. It is usually used in philosophy and through different types of psychological tests, or through different ways in which several sittings are given by the researcher with the particular individuals, and then it is an attempt to find what are the reasons of such experiences and why they have experienced such interesting issues. Okay, and narrative approaches study the stories that individuals provide about their lives and experiences. So from their stories, a trend and pattern is tried to identify, or they are linked with their ancestors or the previous experience of the people belonging to previous generation are also identified from the narrative approaches. And the most important, or the topic on which we are converging today, that is content analysis, which is another method and a very useful method of performing qualitative research. What is content analysis? Content analysis is a scientific study that record human communication, such as books, essays, interviews, websites, text messages, articles, movies, telephonic conversation, responses in social media, and occurrence of any kind of communication. So any kind of communication that an individual makes with the outer world, that means with other people than that of his own, can be analyzed to find trends and patterns, and that is called as content analysis. This is an indirect way of studying human behavior and interactions through their communication. So this type of communication, whatever ways and means of communication, maybe sign language, maybe words spoken, maybe lectures delivered, maybe emails, letters written, then telephonic conversation, etc. Then blog writing. All these things actually are studied together in order to understand the cultural trend, or say any other type of trend or behavioral aspects of a human being. It is an individualistic study and concerned about single or similar set of individuals or organization and not a group. And so this is not about a group of people, but it is about individualistic people. At the best, we can think of an organization. For example, a political party. A political party has different spokesmen. So different spokesmen give in a particular period of time different reactions in the media about the working of their organization, or about how their organization wants to react to different situations in a country. Now these things can be analyzed, and trend and pattern of the organization can be understood. Mostly it is used to understand a particular individual, uh, and obviously not people in a group. In content analysis, text is broken down into manageable categories such as word, sense, phrases, sentence, or theme to decode the underlying meaning of what has been communicated. In content analysis, data is not directly collected from the individual, but the individual is allowed to communicate, and these communications are captured in some way or the other, and accordingly the analysis is done. There are two general categories of content analysis. They are conceptual analysis and relational analysis. So these are the things in which they are done. Conceptual analysis basically looks for the frequency of presence of a particular word or phrase in a text, while the relational analysis goes a step further to examine the relation among concepts in text. So there are two types of content analysis. One is conceptual analysis, which basically looks at the frequency of presence of a particular word, phrase, or text, while relational analysis goes a step further to examine the relationship among the concepts in tests, maybe in the same situation or maybe at two different situations. So these are the ways of relational analysis. Conceptual analysis looks at how frequently a concept appears in the communication that is being studied. Here the concept that you are searching is a communication is generally decided beforehand. As the border boundary is already drawn, so this method lacks flexibility. Some element of quantitative analysis may be required during this conceptual analysis. So in conceptual analysis, basically we are looking at the words that are being used while communication, or the phrases or the meaning that is being communicated by an individual when he is making, or he or she is making a communication to the outer world. So these communications, what type of words will be taken care of? This decision is taken beforehand, and so hardly there is any flexibility in this particular design, because we have to see how frequently these words or phrases appear, or the meaning of these words or phrases shall appear. Methods of conceptual analysis. Conceptual content analysis begins with the selection of a sample depending on the research questions. Sample may consist of speeches of a particular leader, tweets of someone which makes an interesting and useful study, newsroom discussion of a particular news channel, editorials of a particular newspaper, letters communicated, radio broadcasts, comments on social media, and so on. So these are different ways in which we can do the content analysis through conceptual analysis. And when a concept is selected for examination, the analysis involves quantifying and telling its presence. So this way, little bit of quantitative things are entering into the qualitative world. That means we determine some of the keywords and find out that how frequently these keywords has appeared in the tweet of a particular person, or in the speech of a particular individual, or in the newsroom where a few group of people discussing on a particular issue, how frequently they are using these words and so on. The focus here is on finding the frequency of occurrence of a selected term, word or phrase within a text, although the term may be implicit or explicit. To attempt to limit the subjectivity as well as to limit the problem of reliability, coding of such implicit terms usually involves the use of either a specialized dictionary or conceptual translation rules. So these there should be a particular set of rules which shall determine what these meanings of the word should be taken, whether the meaning of the word should be taken at the face value, or there are some internal meaning which actually is related to these words, to decide upon how many concepts to code for which level of analysis. So this is determined beforehand, that what are the keywords and what type of words related to the keywords will also be considered. So for example, as India is a keyword, but sometimes instead of telling India, I may tell that my country. So my country will be considered as synonymous to India. So these are some keywords, and what are the synonyms of the keywords which also will be counted under those keywords. Those things have to be determined beforehand, and they need to be properly coded. So this conceptual analysis deals with deciding whether to code for existence or frequency of a concept, development of rules for coding text, treatment of irrelevant information, result of analysis. So these things are done with this. Let us take an example of conceptual analysis. Let us look at the tweets of our Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So Narendra Modi is, if we look at his tweets journey, we have data till 2019, source of which is Twitter Analytics. We find that initially in 2009, the average number of tweets per day were less than 1, but now it has increased, and over the years it kept on increasing, and until 2019, number of tweets he makes per day is 11.55. That means he is more in connection with the social media than what he used to do earlier. Another interesting study, this is before he became the Prime Minister, and this is after he became the Prime Minister. Before he became the Prime Minister, his main focus, or the main word that he spoke the maximum number of times when he tweeted, that in 100 tweets, Gujarat he used to tell about 15 times in 100 tweets, per 100 tweets. India 14 times, Congress 7 times, and BJP you see 5 times. So mainly attack was on the opposition, because more number of times he referred to Congress was more than the number of times he referred to his political party BJP. Youth, peace and farmers. So now look at this. Now when he became the Prime Minister of India, then his tweets means words more were about India. Gujarat is nowhere there, which was quite understandable. He spoke about development. He spoke about his political party BJP, but rarely, very less spoken word is about Congress. Now BJP has got the priority than that of Congress. He speaks about earlier not so much about property, about farmers, but now his number of words per 100 tweets on farmers, poverty, etc. Has gone down. So these are some interesting findings from the simple analysis of our Prime Minister's tweets. Now let us look at relational analysis. It is purely qualitative type of analysis that looks at relations among concepts within a given communication or a set of communications. That is, whenever I have spoken about development, how many times I have spoken about deprivation simultaneously, or development, how many times it appeared with poverty, or development, how many times it appeared with a particular political party, say BJP. Infrastructure, how many times it have appeared with development. So whenever you speak about some a particular word, similar some other words automatically follows. So that type of analysis is called as a relational analysis. In case of conceptual analysis, basically we concentrated on single individual words and their synonyms, the frequency of their appearance, etc. in a communication. But here, along with a particular set of keywords, I am finding out that how many other similar types of words have appeared. So if I speak a lot about development and also speak about a political party X, say, and then we also I speak about another political party Y, but whenever I refer to Y, I refer to it as anti-development. This party Y is anti-development. That means there is a negative relationship between development and the political party Y. But whenever I refer to a political party X, I speak about the development issues that they have taken up. So according to this communication, it means that whenever X is pronounced or development is pronounced, simultaneously quite often X is also pronounced, and the language used is positive. That means X is expected to have a positive impact on development. So such are examples of relational analysis. The concept mapping or semantic analysis is used to identify these types of relation. These studies meaningful relation, positive or negative, between concepts and also the strength by which the concepts are related to each other. So this is the way in which the description is done. Relational analysis, it may also study how one concept precedes or follows another concept. The researcher needs to identify some words, word senses, phrases, sentences or themes about a concept. Once this is done, words, word senses, phrases, sentences or themes are categorized as positive, negative or neutral. So these are the things in which they are explained their relationship with these some words, word senses, phrases, sentences or themes around a concept are explained, and accordingly they are studied as either positive, negative or as neutral. The relational analysis actually helps us to look at the relation. It is the strength of relationship and the sign of relationship. Sign may be positive relationship, negative relationship. Sometimes the concept of neutral relationship is also there, but that is rarely found out in this type of relational analysis. And the strength of relationship, how much. If I tell development, how many times I have along with development positively referred to, or how many times I have referred to another particular word, say infrastructure. That means whenever I speak about development, I actually mean infrastructural development. If it is more in number, whenever I spoke development, I also told most of the times about infrastructure. That means my idea of development is related to infrastructural development. So this is one way. Another way is the sign of relationship. How many times I had said that development and I also referred to a particular political party X. Okay, that is fine, but what was the connection between them? Was I positive towards the political party X when I spoke about development, or whether it was negative? So these are the relationships that we are speaking about in the content analysis for relational analysis. Now let us go to the conclusion of content analysis. Why are you doing this study? Are you interested in interpreting, generating meaning, gaining a holistic view of the phenomenon rather than measuring, comparing, and quantifying the phenomena? If your answer to the questions are yes, then you should perform content analysis. So this is how, personally speaking, I think any research should have the content component of qualitative research as well to yield fruitful results, because qualitative research actually helps us to understand or take to the problem in depth. However, if the problem is well explained and the tools and measures are well known, methodology is well defined, hypotheses are clearly identifiable, then you can go with quantitative research directly. But otherwise, you need to perform different aspects of qualitative research to reach a point where you can get an explanation for quantitative research, or reach a stage where you can apply quantitative research. So qualitative research and quantitative research, though, are looked at two different types of research, but many a times it may so happen that you start with a qualitative research, understand the problem, frame the hypothesis and then enter into the world of quantitative research. Also, in some of the qualitative research, little bit of quantitative aspects automatically is called in order to help the or reach the findings of qualitative research. So, review the literature and consult research methodology. Read broadly and deeply from scholarly literature to gain expertise in qualitative research. However, this is equally important for quantitative research as well. That is, reading the literature review, understanding the research methodology. These are equally important for both qualitative and quantitative research. Develop a self-study module of your methodology and technique that you will follow in this study. So whenever you go through qualitative research, you can subsequently make a methodology which we can use for this qualitative research, because in qualitative research we have found that there are different methods of performing qualitative research, out of which content analysis is one of them. So there also the way or the mode of operation of the qualitative research that you will apply has to be defined sorry, previously, and that is the methodology for qualitative research, and rest will be an enjoyable journey for the researcher. Thank you for your patience and watching this video.